Well, now I want to turn to Steve Sherrill for his, what do you want to talk about?
Well, it's kind of hard to follow Tom with those models. But they're excellent models. Excellent. I want to talk about safety in our model building. Somebody a couple weeks ago said to have that topic for a show, so I'm going to have it tonight. When we're building stuff, we use sharp edged tools. We have band saws. We have table saws we use. And sometimes we have accidents. Most of it is because we're just careless. I know we've all cut ourselves with the number 11. That's just natural, I guess. But we can have some serious accidents where we could lose a finger or something like that. So I want, if I can get people share some of the things they do to model safe. So let me ask Larry. Larry, I see you're. What do you do to remain safe when you're building on your layout? You know, I know you do soldering and things like that. Um, uh, what kind of methods do you use? I mean,
I don't know.
we're by
I
ourselves.
think I've broken all the rules. When you mentioned soldering, with mine, I've been underneath the layout soldering wires, and many times I got the solder on me. So,
Yeah,
wear,
more on you.
in that case, wear long sleeves. And
More on you than on the layout, right?
yes, and I don't know. There's safety precautions with power tools that we all have heard or know of, particularly safety glasses, pusher sticks for table saws and things like that, rather than and don't stand behind the piece of wood you're pushing through a table saw. If you get a kickback, it can cause a very serious injury in your abdomen, things like that. But never really thought about it. And
I use my
we all were sometimes we're in a hurry and we just put safety aside. We do things we know better, but we do it anyway.
I use a bandsaw an awful lot, and I have to be real careful. You're cutting stuff slow. You can't just push the wood or plastic or anything else through there. But one of the most important things I think is to have really good lighting when you're using these tools. You can never have too much light, and magnification if it's necessary. We can't just guess at what we're doing, or we need to be able to see it. We need to be able to be careful around all the stuff we use. Um, Things like when you're painting, make sure you put your tops on your jars of your paint so you don't knock them over. Things like that. Because when you do, sometimes you then reach real fast to kind of correct it, and then you get into some other problem. Um, they're just things that we need to do to be careful.
And Steve,
Yes.
I think there's a hidden danger that people take too lightly in the hobby, and I was guilty of the same till I got lymphoma, of blood cancer, which they don't really know the cause of that, but it could have been from the model making, the exposure to, for example, Floquil paints. I use them for years and years, and they have all these volatiles in them, and the plastic glues, that have the chloral triethylenes in them, and I think you don't think about it, but when I'm guilty of it. You get paint all over your fingers. It gets absorbed into your skin, and it goes to your lymph nodes. And they haven't really put two and two together, but intuitively, I think we should pay more attention to making sure if you use plastic cements, accelerators for super glue, these solvent-based paints, that you should have good ventilation. It's no joke. I don't want anybody to have to go through what I had to go through, but it's no joke. I mean, it's you should really technically wear gloves of some kind so you don't get this paint all over your fingers or glue. And I'm not talking about wood glue. I'm talking about some of these serious glues like Walther's glue, for example, or that's just some sort of solvent-based glue, or the plastic cements are nasty. Or if you're still using these solvent-based like Floquil,
Yeah.
ventilation, wear a carbon filtration. I mean, it's serious. It really is. But I'll leave it at that. I don't want to preach, but it's a hidden
Well,
danger. Yeah.
Tom,
Tom, this is
go ahead.
this is Jeff. I strongly agree. And one of the things I installed in my shop is an externally vented paint hood with both a filter and a two-stage fan. And not only do I do my painting in there, when I use the volatile glues that Tom is referring to, I use the paint hood for that as well, because that's probably the most hazardous thing we all regularly deal with is there's still a variety of paints out there that have hazardous components. Indeed, I saw as recently as this week that Canada has banned the sale of Tamiya spray paints because of some component of that spray paint. And so, yeah, we all use power tools, but I use paints and glues almost every day. And so I think the venting when you're using paint and glue is probably one of the most important things you can do.
I know Martin goes outside to paint with his rattle cans.
Well, there's a good reason for that. If I don't, the entire house smells like paint.
Yes, and you know what happens when that,
Yeah, that's a different level of pain. But okay, so one little thing about all this, you guys may or may not be aware of it, but I'm actually a chemist by training, an actual bench chemist, organic chemist, a nuclear radiopharmaceutical chemist. So I tend not to actually worry very much at all about solvents because my exposure level has already exceeded what any of you combined will ever have. That's not to say that they're all safe. I mean, the goo has the solvent in goo is acetone. I don't worry about acetone. Floquil is something a little different. I can tell you exactly what's in it because I actually have the component solvent list somewhere on my computer. It's kind of nasty. Tenax, you can't get Tenax anymore because Tenax is methylene chloride and it's been banned. And it's been banned to the level that even chemistry departments can't meet the requirements of monitoring by at least 3 different regulatory agencies at the same time. So ventilation's good. I mean, I hate using MEK because I can smell it, and it smells bad to me. Different people have different olfactometer sensitivities and ranges. The other reason I hate MEK is it's incredibly flammable. So we haven't even talked about that aspect of it. You're using things that catch fire, and nobody thinks about it. Tenax was not flammable, which was a good thing, but Floquil is flammable. The rattle can components, they're flammable. These things are dangerous. There's fire hazards. So nobody's mentioned anything about, maybe having a fire extinguisher handy somewhere within ready reach could be actually useful. You know, that's a little thing that's, upstairs in the kitchen, I have one, but that's up the steps around the corner, upstairs, grab the fire, run back downstairs. Yeah, that's not going to happen. But, flammability is something I worry about more than actual exposure. Because we have soldering irons. I don't use a soldering iron, but very rarely. I have a torch. I use a mini torch, and it's right there on my bench, and it's usually 3 to 6 feet away from a sometimes open vial of lacquer thinner. Yeah, I have seen fumes travel close to 20 feet down a laboratory workbench to a flame and ignite, and then to watch the flame go back to the source. Nothing like a little excitement to make your day brighter like that. But, so we don't give flammability fire hazard issues much thought either. As for power tools, well, there's a 4.5, 5-inch long scar right above my knee on my left leg from a chainsaw. Yeah, that was a fun day. It was funner to
One of the things that I'm concerned about is the containers that some of these liquids are put in. One accident that happened to me is I knocked a bottle of that stuff you use to weld plastic together. It was in a glass bottle and it hit the floor. The floor was made of stone tile, so it didn't hurt the floor. But I had to quick run for fans and everything to vent that stuff out of the room. And then I had to clean all that liquid up off the floor. And I didn't have my mask handy. And these are the kinds of things that I get worried about. Why can't they obviously they're trying to preserve the liquid so it doesn't melt the container, etc. But something as easily breakable as glass is what most of this plastic welding chemical stuff is contained in. There's got to be another way to do that where you can knock a bottle accidentally off your table and not have it shatter all over the floor. If you've got a vinyl floor, I wonder if some of these chemicals will start melting the vinyl before you can clean it up. So that's one of the things I get concerned about as well. The chemicals are bad enough, but when you break the glass bottle that they're contained in, you've created a bigger mess than you expected.
they're not gonna put them in the plastic that will work because it costs too much. They don't have to. And they won't put them in.
There's metal containers as well. They're probably more expensive than the plastic is.
Some of these things react with metal.
Martin, I have a question about masks when we're doing the rattle can spraying. Should we use an N95? Just a regular little mask?
I wouldn't worry about an N95 because you're not talking about viruses. Stopping
Okay.
virus. I mean, these are pretty good size. It's pretty good size particulates when you're talking about paint.
I mean, if you're spraying any quantity, you will get it,
It'll clog up your mask.
Yes.
Before but because it's too fine. But that's one of the reasons I'm outside. I'm out in the driveway.
Yeah.
I would get a 2-stage mask if you're going to be around that. It's a paper, and then a carbon filter. It'll take just about everything.
That's more reasonable for particulates of the paint size.
It doesn't cost that much. I have one.
I have a question about liquids that don't have a smell. I mean, I know if I smell something bad, it's probably bad for me. But I use a lot of super glue accelerator. To me, it's almost like water. I can't smell it. If I spill it, it doesn't hurt anything. I don't know what it is. The list of chemicals on the bottle that it comes in is so long. And
I think
are there things that don't smell bad but are bad for you?
absolutely,
Sure.
and I can smell it. I have a bottle of accelerator.
Some people are more sensitive to things than others, but I don't know what's in that stuff. I never use it.
It's really evil. That's what it is.
Is it?
I suspect it has some sort of organic peroxide in it.
It's just, it seems so, it doesn't affect anything that I put it on, painted subjects, metal, anything. It seems like it's not at all a scary liquid, but that scares me.
It is scary. I got a bottle right here.
Okay, so what's in it? Do they even say?
Do they
You can't pronounce it, you shouldn't use it.
toluidine,
What?
There you go.
which is known in the state of California to cause cancer?
Yeah, well,
Everything.
so does
Air.
paper.
So does water.
Yeah.
Well, contains naphtha.
Yeah, that's. I don't know where.
You have to do your barbecue.
Avoid prolonged breathing of vapor. How about toluenida? Toluenida. That's my favorite, toluenide. That's a carcinogen.
No, it isn't actually.
Toluene. It says right here.
Toluene?
Toluidine. Toluidina.
Like I said, you can't pronounce
I don't
it.
even know what that
Shouldn't use
is.
it.
That doesn't even. That doesn't. That's weird.
That's
Not a name I know.
this stuff's just bad.
Hey, Steve,
Yeah,
I think we're forgetting one of the major things is power tools and knives. A lot of us tend to use dull knives and dull saws. And that's the worst thing there is for cutting yourself with. You
Yeah.
should have sharp stuff. When I was in the lumber business, we made sure the saws were sharp, because if they weren't and you start shoving harder, it'll kick back at you real quick.
yeah.
So you learn that real fast.
And if you drop the knife,
Oh,
don't try to shield it with your foot.
no. Yeah.
That's why
Yeah.
scalpels are better for safety, and they're sharper, but they're flat. The handle on is flat. It won't roll off your bench like the handle on an X-Acto.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Another thing too, a lot of us forget is intuition. Something in the back of your mind will tell you when you're doing something wrong, and we don't always listen to it.
That's right.
Yep.
That's right. Something we're going to do for just a few seconds, we'll take a chance.
Oh, we'll take a chance. Yeah, right. It only takes that 1 second to do it with.
Hold my beer while I do this.
Steve, it's Gary.
Yes.
Hey,
Steve, one of the other most important things when you're model building is if it's the simplest kit you're putting together with the simplest tools or the most complicated tools, wear safety glasses, no matter what.
Yeah.
If you
Yeah.
lose your eyes, you're not going to be modeling.
Yeah. That's for sure.
Well,
Every
listen,
kit I built,
I hate to do it. We can continue this after the show, but we need to maybe shut this one down so we can let Pat go home.
I don't think so.
So Steve, this was a great, what do you want to talk about? It really was, and very useful. Thank you so much. So
All right.
Pat,